Please make sure you have your copy of the assignment Temperature and Chemical Reaction Rates. In this experiment, what we're going to do is use the clock reaction that we practiced in our first experiment, and this time we're going to change one variable, the temperature of the chemical reaction. In this experiment, we're going to use three different temperatures: ice cold, cool, and warm. Today, for the first part, we're going to just do the cool water experiment. When you go back to the bench, you'll find a green page that has procedures. We'll just follow the procedures for the cool 15-degree temperature treatment, and there are other procedures that we'll follow for all of the samples that we do. So the first thing you do when you get back to the bench, you'll find a cup with a thermometer in it. The cup is labeled 15 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature that you want to see on the thermometer. You can start by adding some room temperature water, and then you can add an ice cube from here. And when the temperature gets down to 15 degrees, you can take out the ice cube, but put somebody in charge of keeping an eye on that temperature if you need to add more cold water to bring the temperature down, or if you need to add more room temperature to bring the temperature up. Please make sure to do that. If you need to take some water out because it's getting to be too full, you can use the squeezy pipettes for that too. So one person should be in charge of keeping track of that temperature. It should stay 15 degrees at all times so that that doesn't change. We're going to do 3 trials of the experiment. So when you go back to the bench, you'll also find a cup that has some test tubes in it. The test tubes are labeled A and B, just like the solutions that we used before. These are the same chemicals, but they're slightly differently mixed so that you only have 2 cups instead of 3. And what you'll have to do is put 5 milliliters of each solution into their appropriately labeled tubes. So for the B solution, put 5 milliliters in. Remember to use the line to measure 1 milliliter at a time, so you put 5 of these into each tube. You know that you set it up right when you look at the tubes. They should all have the same volume, 5 milliliters. So look to see that when you put them together, the volumes are all the same. We don't want to have any differences in volumes because we know that that changes the reaction rate. Once you set up 3 tubes of A and 3 tubes of B, then take all of your tubes and put them in your cold water and let that sit in the cold water for about 3 to 5 minutes so that it gets down to the temperature. And of course, someone is keeping track to make sure that that temperature stays constant. Now, after the temperature has gotten down to 15 degrees, we'll do 3 trials of the reaction. So have someone ready with the timer, and then take a tube of B and a tube of A, and be ready to pour them together into 1 cup. When you pour them together into the cup, then start the timer, and then when it turns blue, turn the timer off. And record on your copy of the data table what was the time of the reaction. We'll do 3 trials, so for each of the 3 cups, a different trial. And since we're doing the same thing the same way, you would expect to get similar results. Take those 3 results, add them together, and divide the total by 3 to find the average. The class average we'll find after everybody is done. Each group will take their average and report it to the screen in the front of the room so that we can take a class average and find out what we got there. And then tomorrow we'll do the other 2 temperature treatments. Today we'll just do the cool water to practice. When you're all done, these test tubes can get cleaned out in the sink. Use a squirt bottle, squirt some water down into each one, and then please put them back into the cup upside down in order to dry out for the next class. And then the little white cups can get thrown away. You can pour the water out of this cup too. You can get it out just by raising up the thermometer. And make sure that you wear your goggles at all times during the lab because, of course, we are working with dangerous chemicals. Let's go ahead and get started